crime, politics, Donald Trump in the presidential election, Joe Biden, Harris, and the Hamas leader killed.
Oh, gone.
Ignacio, welcome back.
What's up, brother? Not only Hamas, Hezbollah also in Beirut, back-to-back big strikes by Israel. Israel strikes back after the horrible massacre of 16 children playing soccer in the Golden Heights, on just living their lives and taken out by these monsters. Israel strikes back, finds them in Beirut, the head of Hezbollah, and in Iran, the head of Hamas. So the connection is tight, the connection is real, and it took both of them out. Great strikes for Israel. And Bibi is saying more are coming. So watch out.
Clarify to me, because I saw the one thing. I didn't realize they got the head of Hezbollah also.
Yes, in Beirut the day before.
Did Israel strike within Iran to do this?
That I'm not sure. I have to look where they got it.
I could have sworn I saw like an emergency breaking news this morning where Iran leaders ordered a strike and a war directly into Israel from Iran.
Maybe it could have been Iran.
They are going to attack Iran now. I mean that Iran is going to attack Israel now.
And this is a worst fear, but the U.S. is ready. This war breaks out to a regional war, not just between Hamas and Israel, with Iran involved, with Hezbollah involved. The U.S. gets involved. There's no doubt about that.
But and that's going to shut them down. We got God forgive me, but you know what we have in the White House. How do you know he's going to follow through on any damn thing?
Yeah, it's tough with Biden, but they know they have to do it now, because in a few months, and we'll talk a little politics here also. It looks like for Trump, if he keeps par for the course, and we will talk about some of the things that have come out recently, his biggest flaw, as we know, is some of the stuff he says. He can be offensive. People don't like it. He alienate votes. You need every vote you can. You have to be measured what you say. Be careful what you say. You can't just spout. You're almost an 80-year-old man. You should have these skill sets already and know what you can and cannot say, especially when you're in a media event, especially when you're in a black journalist event and they're asking you those kind of questions. You can't say Kamala Harris is not really black. That is something you cannot say.
In fairness, I think there was.
If you don't know, her father's black Jamaican, her mother is Indian. That's what her nationalities are. So yes, she has black heritage. She's Jamaican.
And the color of somebody's skin is irrelevant to their competency to run the country, and the most powerful country in the world. She's proven herself to be an incompetent, pathological liar. Just about everything she's ever said has turned out to be a lie.
She's the ultimate word salad, Bill. And I put in my article, in my books, she just goes in circles and circles and understand. And then some of the stuff she's been saying, recently, her record, she's not running on her record right. She did not do a good job. The border is not secure, folks. The border is not secure. She's saying they secured the border. It is not. It's a disaster. We all know it is. Listen to what RFK Jr. is saying. And I just recently wrote an article, and I think you saw it, Bill, on Medium. You can follow me on Medium. So you're watching this now. Medium's Medium. It's the one of the biggest places where you can publish articles in the world, right? Over 100 million subscribers, or 100 million users, almost 1 million subscribers. It's excellent. I've written almost in 2 weeks, 30 articles already. Like I said, I'm a prolific writer. I really enjoy it. I go in there from all different topics, and you can link into my Amazon book in there. But I talk about RFK Jr. He's going to be the difference, putting Trump over the top. I looked at the numbers yesterday in the polling. It looks like he is the difference in the swing states between Trump and Harris. He's taking about 7 to 10%. That's significant. That hurts her. And that's enough to put him over the top there. In where? Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin. I think Arizona is definitely going strong red. Georgia, he just gets one of those Rust Belt states. And then you have on top of that, J.D. Vance. And we'll talk about what you thought and what we think about Hillbilly Elegy.
Yep, he wrote this book and became a movie. Ron Howard put together.
Yeah,
and I've been watching that. I have not finished it yet because
that's Glenn Close. If you look at the lady on the left there, go back to the one before, Bill. That's Glenn Close right there. If you look at right there at the left, Bill, right there is Amy Adams. Glenn Close plays his mama, as he calls her, grandma growing up, and then Amy Adams plays his mom, who is addicted to drugs and coming over, had a tough life. They're Appalachian people. They finally moved to Middleton, Ohio. and he grew up and eventually joined the Marines and went to law school, Yale Law School, and then became the junior senator from Ohio recently. But remember, there's controversy with him too. And like we're fair and balanced, and that's the important thing. Is 2016, he was a never Trump guy, never Trump guy. Didn't vote for Trump. He voted for I think a guy who was former CIA, who was independent, ran for the presidency. Right. So I can't remember the guy's name. I have him in my article that I wrote there about who is J.D. Vance. And I gave a breakdown of his character, who he is. Some people say that he went to Mar-a-Lago to kiss the ring to get Trump's support to run Ohio. I don't know. But he's changed his tune about him. I think he realizes that Trump was good for people, hardworking, blue-collar people who want jobs, manufacturing jobs, and he is good for the Rust Belt. He is good for the Rust Belt and those kind of people.
Right. He was, like anybody, everybody has a right to evolve and change their views. I started off when I was a young guy and in college and everything, and I was more Democrat than anything.
Oh,
and, I was not very, knowledgeable of even what I was, but I would lean probably more Democrat. And you grow up and you realize that just about every one of their policies has failed. They're about divisive politics. They're about driving a wedge, and then they literally cause the division. They cause it, but then they blame the Republicans. And the people are starting to figure that game out now. They're catching on. They're bailing from that party in droves.
Over taxation, over regulation, right? Divisiveness. It is a failed. That's what socialism, communism is. And I know I've talked about in previous shows. That's what destroyed my family's homeland in Cuba, right? Even though they came from Spain originally, they had come to Cuba. They had a constitution. And once Fidel Castro, Che Guevara, and his cronies came in, it was nationalized. They nationalized everything, took the businesses, right? And you have to leave. And I was fortunate enough to be born and raised born in LA, raised in Miami, one of the greatest countries in the history of the world. Great opportunities. But you have to work. This country, Bill, is good for people who are ambitious, who want to work, and will do something. But if you're a person who doesn't want to do anything but sit on your ass, this is not your country. You need a socialist, communist country for you.
That's what they want. They want to be on what they call the dole elsewhere, just like generational welfare and all that. Now,
that's awful.
Like you have in, because the Democrat Party teaches people to be dependent on the government.
That's awful.
Our Republicans teach you to get on your own feet and helps you to get there. But then, they want to see you succeed, and they're all about business and family and making money and happiness. The Democrats are all about who they can exploit for votes and then do nothing for them when they get in office.
They suffer and miserable. And the key, folks, is to make sure one thing they couldn't take away from my family. They can take your money. They can take your assets. They can't take your education. They can't take your ambition, right? You're an educated person. You have that for life. You have knowledge for life. You go somewhere else, you take it with you. You have your ambition. You keep that with you.
Do you know somebody, a celebrity? I forget exactly what she does. Probably Mary would know. Jillian Michaels. She's something. She's some famous personality, whatever, lesbian, all this. So she's evidently, I think, a Democrat. She's living in California. She's on Fox News yesterday.
Oh yeah.
She herself is fleeing California. She said, "My party and my governor are supposed to represent everything that I live, but there's such frauds." And it's so ridiculous. There's people dying on the street and homeless everywhere, and they're pretending it's not happening. The very people that we voted in to help these people are doing nothing for them but enriching themselves. She's leaving. Fox had her as a guest last night.
Yeah, Governor Newsom there. He's an absolute, probably one of the worst governors in the history of California. He's destroyed it. Now he's trying to clean up the homelessness that's going on. That is absolutely consuming, destroying Oakland, destroying San Francisco area, destroying Los Angeles, destroying the big cities. Now he's trying to do something to maybe try to get more votes or try and get something. I don't know why people continue with these failed policies in California. California's a gorgeous state. They got to get rid of the failed politics, the failed policies. They got to get rid of the state income tax. People are fed up getting taxed by the federal government. They get them by the state, by the counties. It is absurd. Over taxation, you're working your butt off to just pay taxes. No, people say enough is enough. We're not getting our money's worth. And a lot of the money, Bill, I hate to say it, as bureaucracies are being wasted. Waste, fraud, and abuse. That's the worst. When your hard-earned dollar is being stolen, that's when you say enough is enough. We need some change. We need to end this bureaucracy that we call a bloating government that doesn't want to rein in. That's one thing the Republicans are, and we need more hawkish Republicans. More hawkish Republicans to cut back on the deficit, because we need a balanced budget, and we cut back on. I think our deficit was, last time I checked, Bill, was like $36 trillion. 36 trillion. I mean, we need to eventually start reining that in. That's a problem for the country. That is a problem that has to be addressed. And I don't want to see that to my daughters, their children, right? Our grandchildren, right? Do you want that to be straddled with that? That's going to have a major impact.
Well, we have a situation we call the Biden crime family in power. And so, them and then Obamas of the world, they thought it was okay to give airplanes full of $100 bills to the Iranians. So in reality, without the taxpayers' permission, they have funded terrorism against us. They have indirectly financed terrorism by releasing billions and billions and billions, literally in cash, went to these countries.
You know what bothers me also about this administration, and make sure we say it together, the Biden-Harris administration, because she owns these failed policies. She can't act like she's like new to this game. She was there for 4 years. She's just as involved as Biden was with these failed policies. She's probably worse than him in many ways, because she doesn't have the experience. She was awful as attorney general in California. She was not a good senator in California either. And this is a situation because now she's backpedaling. Oh, I was too aggressive. I should have been less aggressive. Maybe she's a flip flopper in everything she says and does.
She was involved with some cases in California where she knew people were innocent and deliberately kept them in prison. And as you know, myself, Mary, and Kim Kardashian, the only ones that are reality stars working in the field of wrongful convictions. And we're looking to collaborate with her on some California cases.
We should look for that. Yeah, for sure.
We have an outreach going on with her. Obviously, she's huge. She's very financially comfortable,
and she has good connections in California too.
Great connections, big numbers, and so we always give her a shout out and admire what she does. But if you look it up, you will see that myself and Mary, my fiance, the only other reality stars doing what she's doing.
Keep it up, guys. Keep it up. I
want to give a shout out to Louis Ballesteri, my host for Mafia Mondays. Louis was an organized crime detective. He wants to do more shows. He loves working with you.
For sure. We'll do more.
So he sent me a couple of gifts, some autographed photographs of himself, and this thing that we used on a show last time as a thumbnail. And we have a couple of versions of this, but this is artwork by the artist that's listed there. I can't read his name, but it's like, on-screen wise guys and this and that, and actors from famous mob movies. So I want to thank you, Louis, for sending us that.
That's very nice. Very cool.
Very nice. And it's always a good thing. He's going to be joining us down for the premiere of Silent Partners coming up. So everybody that that I will be at the premiere of Silent Partners in Boca Raton. We're not allowed to say the name of the venue because they're expecting gigantic crowds. But there's going to be very tight, there's going to be super celebrities there, so there's going to be very tight security. Now, the Silent Partners, as you know, I'm going to remind my audience, was based upon this book, Fat Dave Gambino Captain, by Dave Icavetti, about his father. Dave and I are very, very good friends. He's got Club TV. We're going to be doing a few movies together, and I'm going to be doing more movies with Cyril as well, and then plus my own as well. And
I always said we could have some very good ideas to make some good docuseries, documentaries with the right connections, the right things. I have my books make a perfect example, Bill. Of course, thank you for showing ATF Undercover there. Also available on Audible. If you're not a big reader, it's also available on Audible. So it's the most dangerous crime syndicates of our time. And I'm hoping to have Tyrants and Killers out shortly on Audible. But if you're not a really big reader, Medium, like I said, it's a great outlet there to read all my my writings I have there, which are linked to my books also, which are good to read there. Going back to a little bit of politics we were talking about, I cannot believe Kamala Harris. Her husband is Jewish, right? His name is Doug Imhoff, right? And she continues to push Israel to want to do a ceasefire, right? She didn't go in Congress when Bibi Netanyahu was speaking to Congress. The protests we talked briefly about last time were horrific in D.C. They trashed the American flags. They brought them down. They put Palestinian flags up. They put Hamas stuff up there everywhere. It was awful, Bill. Union Station was gutted. It's an embarrassment what happened here in D.C. The mayor did nothing. She didn't say much. And now she's pressuring, again, Israel for a ceasefire. Stay out of it. Let them deal with it. They need to get rid of Hamas once and for all. These are these terrorists, and Hezbollah and Iran. They're all the same, and they're going after Israel to destroy them from the river to the sea once and for all. These people are a problem. Yeah, two-state solution, but you keep on killing innocent children on the field, playing ball, living their lives, ending that, it's going to end badly. They don't get it. You don't do that, it's consequences. You come after somebody, there's going to be consequences. And all three actors deserve to be put down. No doubt about it.
Right.
And Harris is pushing this, Bill. She's pushing this. That's a problem. She's failed policy. She's failed with Israel. She's failed with the border. She's failed foreign policy. She can't even. She remember that one I showed you where she was in on the DMZ, and South Korea is her greatest ally. She said North Korea is our great. What are you saying? It's North Korea. It's our enemy. Kim Jong-un is the enemy. He's tied in with China. He's going to tie in with Russia. He's Little Rocket Man himself, right?
He's launching lethal missiles over Japan into the sea. I mean,
oh my gosh, that's awful.
Who does that?
A crazy guy like him who has destroyed his people. He starves them to death, but you know he does that, right? He starves his people. He manipulates. He uses. He lives like a king, and everybody lives like a peasant.
The hermit kingdom. You cannot visit that country without minders with you at all times. They only let you see the area where the people are well fed and connected to him. If you sneak out and get to the outer areas, you're looking at going to prison for life or being killed. But the footage that does come out of those areas shows the people that are completely emaciated. They're eating tree bark. They're eating dirt. They're eating the soles of their shoes, literally.
And he lives in palaces. He lives like a super king. And that is absolutely right.
And he's a chubby fellow like me, so you know he's eating well.
He eats well, and it's 3 generations of like that. Same with his father and his grandfather. Yeah. It's been over 100 years, or not close, but it's been that they've been destroying North Korea. Hopefully, one day you can see the Korean Peninsula reunited and get rid of this like in Germany. How they got rid of the communists in East Germany, unified Germany. Hopefully, they can unify the Korean Peninsula and get rid of that disastrous, horrific. And I wrote that book, Little Rocket Man, Kim Jong-un, and I wrote stuff about him to read into him also. But that's the level of incompetency. You know, the way she talks about things. How about when she talked about energy? It says, "Oh, I love these energy buses. As a kid, they used to pick me up on a bus and take me to school. Yeah, but that was that was an energy bus. That wasn't a charging bus. That was a regular fuel bus. What are you talking about that when you're talking? This is completely different." So
she's listen. It's incredible that anybody doesn't see past this. Like these
awful.
There's people that support this woman who's like off her rocker in her own way. Yeah, she's like always like giggly and all that, but that's somebody you meet drunk in a bar, not somebody you put. That's not somebody you meet to be president of the United States.
Cackling Kamala. She's always, that's my conclusion in my book is that we continue to put these people who are not to be president of the United States, like Biden and her and Obama and Clinton's. It's just bad leadership will really undermine our democracy and our foundations, our institutions, because they're not competent and their policies are failures and they're being used by the ultra left. That's a problem.
Ignacio is an incredible writer. He's written over 80 books. He's got this column on Medium now, which I'm starting as well. I've already written 3 articles. I'm trying to figure out how to upload them there. Maybe you give me a tutorial later. But
very easy, Bill.
So Ignacio and I always have these predictions. So far that I can count, 3 of them have come true, including this one that he wrote 2 years ago.
Joe Biden.
We also predicted that the only way the Democrats could even hope to. Let me rephrase that. We're not blaming the Democrats, but the only hope for Biden or the Democrats this go around is, God forbid, somebody made an attempt on
Thomas Crooks tried that, and that's a colossal failure by the Secret Service. You know, the head of the Secret Service had to resign. She resigned in disgrace, right?
I think she and whoever pulled the detail out, cut it in half or whatever, and didn't. And they were already called. I just saw a report this morning by the Inspector General numerous times that they have very little coordination with the local authorities on what they're going to be doing. And that's unheard of because that's your backup manpower for perimeter security at a minimum.
How you not have a good briefing and people getting together, seeing faces? You always have to have everybody has to see each other, talk to each other, and know who's doing what. And also, how do I reach out to you? Either by radio or by phone, a number, something. When that guy was there some 90 minutes earlier, and they're making, why can't they need to contact Secret Service, they need to be on the same page. Remember, Bill, this close taking out the president. That close taking the former president out, Donald Trump. Unbelievable pictures. His images we'll remember for over 100 years.
Interestingly, Meta, Facebook, ChatGPT, and Google have been suppressing these images. And they said it was a mistake of their algorithm. The same exact thing. They're trying to control the outcome of this election. And they were trying to say that it's alleged that there was an assassination attempt. And then so on Google for a while, up until I think a few days ago, if you put in anything about Trump assassination, it would not give you anything on Trump. It would give you about Truman attempt. It would give you the Kennedy thing. It would give you this, that. It was not even coming up. And Fox did a big expose on it, blasting them. And then they were screenshotting all the results. ChatGPT, same thing. Couldn't find anything on it. It's alleged that there was a shooting nearby, stuff like that. And now Meta backed up and released a statement that it was like an automatic mistake, like an automatic override.
Sure. Yeah, I wouldn't believe that.
I
don't believe that. It was an assassination attempt by this guy, Thomas Crooks. At the end, Bill, what the investigation showed, the FBI finally admitted that he did get hit in the ear. Remember, at first, the director was kind of waffling on that, did he or not? He finally came clean about that. The FBI now, with ballistics, working with ATF, have come clean. Now the issue with Crooks is what was his true motivation, or was he just like typical mass shooter, crazy mental health issues? A lot of these guys are bonkers.
Trump allowed, gave permission to his doctor or maybe one of the surgeons who worked on him after the shot to go public and start doing interviews about the nature of the wound. And he described the wound. He said the infrastructure is still intact and it didn't go clean through the top of the ear. It kind of carved out a concave on the top of his ear. So it eliminated a lot of it, complete tissue destruction. So it didn't go through like a piercing. It kind of made
it nipped it. It nipped it.
Yep.
Still, you still got nipped. You still got hit. It goes millimeter the other way. Bad news. You get hit the other way. It's bad news for you. It's game over.
He had the bullet was coming straight at his head, but when he turned to look at that poster, the clear headshot that would have taken off the back of his skull.
Very lucky guy.
Very lucky guy. In the same instant, the bullet was fired.
The country, most people are rooting for Trump, but he has to remember that if he's going to win this election, he has everything in his favor now to do it. He just needs to be clear what he says, be measured, and not say stupid things. And also, we can talk a little bit about what JD Vance said, who's going to be his VP on the ticket, was about single women becoming cat women, right? If you don't have a family, you don't have kids, and the term came up, you're going to be a cat woman. You know what that is, right? Women who don't get married have a lot of cats, and that's all they become.
Stereotype nonsense. That's all that is. Listen, everybody needs to remember, Trump's a New York guy. He's been a builder, a contractor all his life. He's a bit of a talker, but bottom line, he helps a ton of people of all races.
He did.
He's done more than these fake Democrats that run for office. And don't forget, I'll remind my audience, because I've done time. I've served 18 years for nonviolent crimes. It's because of Joe Biden that everybody in the black community and in my life and in my world, when I was living an illegal lifestyle, did 85% of my sentence, because Joe Biden was behind the crime bill of 1994, in which he called publicly called blacks super predators. That's his view of black
predators. Yeah.
He said that they belong in prison for 20 years for one crack rock. No help, no assistance, no counseling.
Did he also say in an interview?
This is the guy that they're still voting for. And I'm like, he just decimated society with the crime bill of 1994. Part of it was the feds would guarantee state dollars for building construction for their state prison systems. If the legislatures moved their sentencing up from like 50%, in Florida it was 65. If they jacked it up to 85% to come into alignment with the federal system, then they'd be eligible for all this, billions of dollars to build more prisons. Florida took him up on it, and I was a victim of Biden's policies.
Yeah, he failed. That's why what is he, Bill? One and done. He's a one-term president. He goes down with Jimmy Carter, and I said worse than that. He's now an LBJ because LBJ is because the pressure within his own party and the unpleasantness and the unpopularity of the Vietnam War decided not to seek another term, right? This is the same thing, but it is because of his mental faculties, and a lot of people think early stage dementia. He couldn't talk, bumbling Joe. Every time he walked on stage, he'd trip, he'd fall. He couldn't. Bill, he couldn't figure out how to get off stage. it was so sad that the commander in chief can't even figure out how to walk off stage. That he should not be there. And I think Nancy Pelosi finished him off really nicely and said, "Joe, you must go." And she showed him the numbers. You cannot beat him. You're hurting the party, and you're going to put it back for 30 years.
I think, I say this tongue in cheek. Everybody knows I make jokes. A lot of things are said in jest, but, his mental health notwithstanding, your prayers for that, but the man is completely corrupt. He's incompetent. He's always been incompetent. Every policy he's ever enacted has failed or victimized the people that he pretends to help. So I say this, I've announced I'm going to run for president in 2028. Guess what? There's nothing about me that's secret. I'm this, I'm that, say it all. I don't care. I've been through the ringer. It's like Tony Montana said when he got picked up and the immigration guys were interrogating him. What's that scar for? What's that tattoo mean? That means you're an assassin in Cuba and all that. And he goes, we don't know about you, so we're gonna send you to Freedom Town. And he goes, you can send me here, you can send me there. I don't care where you send me. There ain't nothing you can do to me that ain't already been done.
I like that saying. I like that saying. It says at the end there, come meet my little friend, right?
Yeah.
Well,
that's how I feel when I run for president. I don't give a damn what you say about me. I know who I am today, and I'm still not perfect. Still plenty of issues, but guess what? I know where to go to get help when I need guidance. If I need help running the country, maybe I'll ask Trump. Maybe I'll have you as a congressman. You'll get yourself elected.
Exactly, and an advisor for sure.
But I make the joke that if I get elected, I'm going to appoint Joe Biden chief dog catcher in D.C. by executive order.
I don't think he'll be in D.C. I think he'll still be in Delaware somewhere, just licking his ice cream. That's all he can do, staring mindlessly at the ocean like this, like a zombie.
That's scary because I did some research and because of something I actually saw on Fox again.
He's awful.
The experts in dementia and all that say that people that are entering into dementia love ice cream because it helps bring them back. But also it's scary because he has a habit of grabbing little girls by their heads and going in like his hair, right? And he's sniffing, and they all report it. They're like, this guy is so disgusting. He sniffs these little girls all the time. And they want to make him leave him as president.
No, I mean, good thing is, Bill, he's done. Joe Biden, in middle of January, he will not be commander in chief anymore. So the pressure, the book, like I said, I predicted this 2 years ago. This is even better than I thought, Bill. Even better than I thought. That would come down to election. He was knocked out. He didn't even get to go to the election. He was taken out early by his own party. Biden won and done. And history goes as one of the worst presidents in U.S. history. Unfortunately, Harris could beat him. If she wins, she'll be the worst president in U.S. history. So it's like back to back. If Harris wins, it's bad news. You know what Obama said? Michelle and him endorsed her. And it said, you can be the most historical president more than I was. No, I don't think so. That's it. Historically bad. How about this? Historically bad. It's not about the one's background, ethnicity, race. It's about policies and successful, and their policies stink. Why
can't they listen to actually what Martin Luther King said? I took a course at Washington and Lee University, is an Ivy League school that I actually attended when I was in prison. They came in with students that brought the classes to us. So I have college credits from Washington and Lee. And the first course I took was called, like a poverty studies course, was on the speeches of Dr. Martin Luther King. I was like everybody else. I only knew, I have a dream, and what else did he do? Or that he was, supposedly caught in FBI surveillance with some white hookers.
Being a communist, having an affair, right?
Well, he was like with a couple of white girls in a hotel room, while he was the civil rights. Everybody has their personal weaknesses. That doesn't mean they're not capable of doing the right thing by the country and, everybody else, because, everybody's got their skeletons.
Yep.
So I overlook all that, and I know he's done some good, but I knew nothing really about him until I took that course. And the big book that they gave us from Washington Lee was like this big, and we had to get through all his speeches and do studies and essays on them. And I would walk around the prison rec yard with it. It's got a big picture of him on there. And the white supremacist guys would be like, they called me New York in prison, and I was a law clerk, so I got respect on every level. They'd be like, New York, what are you doing walking around with that book about that such and such? And I said, look, man, I don't know why you became like white supremacists. You hate Jewish people. You hate black people. I don't know. That's not my business. But if you read this book, it might actually change your views, because he was a smart guy. He was gifted somehow.
He was a preacher.
Yeah, but he was a
Go to the
phenomenal
gap.
communicator. He
Yeah.
was phenomenal. And so, I go back to the one thing that everybody's heard of. Don't judge a person by the color of their skin, but the content of their character.
Character. Absolutely.
Period. The content of Biden and Harris's character is
Awful.
horrendous. Right.
Awful. Just like Hunter Biden's character, awful, convicted felon. Let's see if now that we know he's not going to be in office much longer, will he pardon his son? Let's keep an eye on that before he leaves. Will he pardon his son? Yeah. He'll go. He said he wouldn't. I think he goes back on his word. Remember, we're good at predictions here. He's saying I'll let Junior sit in. I don't know how much time he'll get. He went to trial, and it's up to 10 years for that. And he also has to double check what's going on with the IRS for not paying his back taxes. That's another trial. He might get some serious time. Hunter might be going away for a while.
There's other Biden crime family members implicated in a lot of these things, accepting money transfers, wire. They went to the banking instead of to the IRS, and the banks gave up all the financial records.
Good.
Millions and millions stolen and laundered.
A good paper trail.
Right, good paper trail. So I think I kid around, and I said it on a previous show, I think his remaining days in office, he's signing a stack of pardons about this big. So
he's going to do whatever he can and this is what we have to worry about. He's going to do whatever he can to help Harris, whatever he can, right? That was his VP. And if he can hurt Trump, embarrass him, do whatever he can to help skew the election their way. Remember that, folks. So keep an eye on that. The good thing is, at least the Supreme Court is conservative. So that's a good thing there. I think the Senate, which I think was flip-flop. If Harris wins, the House goes Democrat because they're going to carry up. But I still think because Manchin is not running, and West Virginia is a very red state, and remember, he was a Democrat, it would go Republican. Okay, boom. Now it's even, and I think they can pick up one or two other states. The Senate, I think, goes Republican, which could be a problem for Harris because she can't get a lot of her nominees passed through. So we'll see what happens now. We'll see what happens. That's going to be interesting. But going back to MLK, I have an interesting story there for you. And I just thought about it right now. When I was in college, St. Louis University up there, his son, Junior, MLK Jr., spoke at the campus. And we were at the cafeteria, and he's coming down. He had his plate, and me and my other fraternity brothers were eating. And he said, "Can I sit down with you?" So he sat down with us, and he started telling us stories from his father's time and what he can remember. And it was a fascinating conversation talking to MLK's son, who's I was 18, 19 at the time, and he looked like he was close to maybe, I'm guessing here, late 30s, 40s maybe. And it was fascinating listening to him, the son who went through so much, and his father was also assassinated, and the trauma he has. Very similar what RFK talks about, having the loss of his father the way he did, right? And he was there when he died in the hospital in Los Angeles, and then and also his uncle the way he died. And that's tough for anybody. But he didn't go to drugs like RFK Jr. Remember, he's a recovering heroin addict. Don't forget that.
Didn't one of Martin Luther King's children really get deep into Democrat politics and the BLM movement, all that nonsensical, corrupt organization?
It could be him. I dealt with him when he was younger. So I don't know. I haven't followed his career, but it could be him because he seems like, I think I've seen him before talking again. And remember, this was back in the early, I would say like 93, early 90s, right there. But that was something I remember. Then you just brought it up. I said, hey, I remember sitting down and having a nice conversation with him in the cafeteria where we're eating and hearing his perspective. It wasn't about politics more, but about what you mentioned about the character of a person, not judging them by the color of their skin. You have to look what's inside, not about what's outside, and judge people. Like you look at what's going on right now with the Palestinians and Hamas. It's their actions. People don't hate people who are Muslims from the Middle East. They hate is when they become violent and they target children, and their actions, what they did is unacceptable. This is what they understand is what they did is unacceptable. And there's accountability. There has to be accountability for that kind of behavior. If not, guess what happens? They do it again and again. And Israel can't live that way. And we can't live that way.
You can't appease a dictator, and it's that the dictatorial part of that, the violent side of the.
Awful, Bill. That's awful, awful, awful. So that's a story I remember when you talked about MLK. Interesting. I agree. You should read his works. Yes, the man is flawed. He was accused of being a communist sympathizer. He was accused of having multiple affairs. He's supposed to be a preacher. He's supposed to be living a certain kind of life. But at the end, he made a big difference with segregation, right? It was a big problem in this country at the time, segregation. And he marched. He risked his life. And at the end, he paid the ultimate price for his. Like he said, I won't see the day. He knew he was going to be killed. because he didn't have the protection he needed, and a guy with a rifle killed him. So,
yeah. Yep. So
that's
it changed my view. It changed my view on a lot of things. It just did, like really getting deep into his speeches because it's so powerful. I think there's one of the quotes that he's famous for, something like an injustice anywhere is injustice everywhere, something like that. Like if you ignore it, it might happen to you next, pretty much.
It could. I agree with that.
If somebody you think is in an unjust situation, do what you can to help. To try to help them.
And they were suffering a lot, and blacks in this country at that time were mistreated, and the Klan was very powerful, right? Cross burnings. You look at all documentaries and videos, was awful times, and I think America has become a lot better than what it was back during that era right there of segregation. Things have changed a lot, and I think they should remember Emancipation Proclamation by Abraham Lincoln, Republican, right? Which freed them, and yet they're with the Democrats.
The Republican Party freed
them,
the slaves, and yet
won the war.
Many blacks today still vote Democrat. They wanted to keep them in slavery. I mean, what are the people thinking? They forget history. They forget the crime bill of 1994 that destroyed the black community all across this country, putting nonviolent offenders in prison for 85% of their sentence, massive draconian sentences. I got one of them because I fell into that mess. And that was the era when I first became a law clerk, and the conversation in prison always was, and you'd be interested as somebody who was going after violent criminals, the attitude of guys in prison was, because they knew if they got in trouble again, even for nonviolent crime, they'd probably do 30 to life, especially in Florida, that they're going to hold court in the street. If they're doing something wrong or they relapse or they go back to dealing drugs, and somebody like you or one of our police officer friends pulled them over, they're the biggest saying back in those days, I'm going to hold court in the street. I don't give an
F. They don't want to go back. They don't want to go back.
Right. And these policies put you directly in danger, you yourself, Ignacio. And I believe that the nonviolent offenders and the drug addicted really a long time ago needed to get treatment, and the violent offenders need to be in a separate category altogether.
Absolutely.
It always should have been like that.
I've always said that, Bill, and that's the kind of case I did. Repeat violent offenders, habitual violent offenders, people who are dangerous to the community, armed gang members who are entrenched in the culture. There's no getting out. It's all about them right here. Armed home invaders who don't care. The next thing they're worried about is doing another lick and stealing, making money. It's just that's one thing I liked about work for ATF. We work hitting the worst of the worst, which I enjoyed putting these guys away for a long, long time. And I talk about in my book.
Read the book about that. I tell everybody to get your book. We promote it here a lot.
Appreciate it. Amazon, check it. Amazon, put it right there. Amazon.com. Amazon.com. Check it out.
The good, bad, and the ugly. A little bit of some of the policies, even I think ATF and supervisors that you had run-ins with. I don't recall that you name people by name, but you do tell the stories about. It's not a perfect organization, but in the end, you guys were doing phenomenal work, and I have a lot of admiration. The two people I admire most in our society, honestly, and not trying to brown nose to you or anything, are ATF agents and firemen. To me, they're the bravest members of our community.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Bill.
Down there, and then servicemen who serve, with in the time of war.
Our combat veterans are amazing. What they've done, the sacrifice they made, our combat veterans, and every war we've had. It's you have to really. I watched the movie again. Haven't seen it, and now so we're going to talk about Hillbilly Elegy a little more. But before we get that, I thought this was Tom Cruise's. Again, I also did an article recently on Scientology. And how dangerous are they? They're very dangerous. This is not a religion. This is a cult, and it should be dealt as such. And it should not have IRS gave into them. They shouldn't be given religious tax exemption. They need to pay their fair share. I think over $1 billion in back taxes. They need to pay that. They shouldn't have that. And the horrors they've committed with their own members. A great documentary just came out on Netflix. Former members, higher-ranking members, showing what's really going on, and it's not good. It is not good. Separation of families.
I've never done a deep dive into them, but I've heard a lot of those things. One of the things I've heard, and you correct me if it's not completely accurate, is that when they get people in for their deprogramming or interviews in the beginning, they convince them to purge everything they've ever done.
E-meters.
And those under the guise of helping them are actually recorded and then leveraged against them as blackmail and extortion later on.
Of course. That's a new spin on confession. If you're Catholic, you have confession, but it's supposed to stay between you and the priest, right? But no, this is recorded, used, videotaped, and everything else has come in. That's why a lot of people wonder why John Travolta, Tom Cruise, all these big name actors are still stuck there when they know what's going on. What do they have against these guys? Why are they there? You know, Tom Cruise pays a lot of money to get all this education, you know, whatever. And L. Ron Hubbard, when I wrote the book originally there, he's a Pulp Fiction writer. This is mostly sci-fi, and they incorporate it because that's where you make real money. It's in a religion.
Yeah. And the people are like too stupid to see that. L. Ron Hubbard was a sci-fi author, and they built a religion around it. I mean,
they also said he's out there. He was pretty much disgraced in the Navy. He had so many bad issues in the Navy when he was there in the 40s and stuff like that. I wrote about my book and everything else. He was booted out there. He was found guilty in France for not paying the taxes and everything else. His family members were convicted. They infiltrated the IRS. And DEA and others with members to get information about what is going on in the 70s with their tax data. They're obsessed not to pay taxes, not to do everything else. So I wrote an interesting book on that. I wrote a heck of an article on that also. Take a look at it on Medium and all these topics. Talked about ATF. I also talked about Operation Fast and Furious. For those who don't know, that was the gun walking scandal, that huge tactic to let guns go to Mexico that were illegally purchased by straws working for the cartels in the United States to be recovered in Mexico with cartel members. Horrible operation, went badly. It cost everybody in management in that position, including the United States Attorney of Arizona. The director of ATF at the time, Nelson, stepped away and went somewhere else. It was an embarrassment and disgrace.
Trying to figure out what the heck I thought I had a trailer for the Hillbilly Elegy to put on the screen.
Oh, okay. I think. Well, wait, actually, I was going back to Tom Cruise because we talked about Scientology, and we're talking about servicemen. Maybe you know what? Born the 4th of July. Have you seen that movie, Bill? Born the 4th of July with Tom Cruise being a Vietnam War veteran, and the way how he was portrayed. I always told him I'm not a big fan of his, but he was fair about the movie. Veterans were not treated well in this country after Vietnam. You may remember that, Bill, before my time, but you remember how they were treated? They were baby killers.
It's before my time too. What are you saying, Ignacio?
Well, you're about 10 years, but you remember more than I would remember. You know what I'm saying?
I'm 28 years old still.
Baby
I
killers.
remember it from the news. I didn't, necessarily.
But remember Jimmy Carter era with your mom and everything else too. So you remember all that stuff that was going on with that era. They were mistreated. They were not treated right. And the Veteran Association then, the VA, what an embarrassment to try to get these guys the help they needed. Mental health issues. It was dead on. He comes back from the war disabled. He can't move from his waist down, and he did not get the help he needed. And I think that was documented pretty clearly. A young man who never even had the experience to have a girlfriend, if you know what I'm saying,
right.
Never did because he couldn't. Bill, it's awful. You got to see the movie. You haven't seen it? Born the 4th of July. Check it out.
That and the Hillbilly Elegy. I'm trying to find something here. You know, we've had Donald Trump's attorney on here.
Peter Tickton. Yeah, I didn't show them.
You actually jumped in with us, and we appreciate you joining us. That show is up if anybody wants to see that. So Peter has a big law firm down in Florida, the Tickton Law Group. And let me see. I have a picture of his book cover. He wrote this book about Donald Trump. Peter's a good friend of mine, Donald Trump's attorney. He actually filed the racketeering lawsuit against Hillary Clinton. It's in the appeal court right now. They went to New York Military Academy together. As you can see on his book cover, he puts Trump in an elevated position. Donald Trump was his captain in the same platoon, and they became lifelong friends, and now he represents him as well, one of his attorneys. So
yes, good guy. Talked to him. I spoke to a good conversation with him, and I've talked to him some other matters too. So really nice guy to talk to, and interesting perspective. Especially, I'll hear more stories about him and Trump back at the academy. That'll be interesting. He gave us a few. I'd like to hear more.
Yeah, definitely. Peter's always willing to come on. I just it's a scheduling thing with him.
Busy guy. He's a busy guy.
Most of my guests can jump on pretty quick. In Peter's case, he usually needs a week notice or so at least.
And we can't forget. You're gonna do the trailer for Hillbilly or no?
I'm trying to see where it is. I'm
So, folks, if you don't know what this is, I'll give you the trailer right here. If you don't know what it is, I'll give you a little background about it. It is J.D. Vance's life growing up in Middleton, Ohio. His mother was a recovering, or no, she had major drug addictions. No issue about it. It was a mess, different relationships. And Mama, as he called it, his grandma, had to step in, which is played by Glenn Close. The mom is played by Amy Adams. Both of them, I think, were nominated for awards during different, I think, at the Oscar, Academy Awards, and other places too. Ron Howard, I think he's directed 50 movies, Bill. He's done some classics. Cocoon, remember Cocoon? Ron Howard. Yeah. He's done some amazing. My favorite one is A Beautiful Mind. I don't know if you've ever seen that one that he directed.
Oh my God, I love that movie about John Nash. Oh man, A Beautiful Mind is easily one of my favorite movies ever. Top 5.
Ron Howard, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think he won Best Picture. I got to double check that, but he
we
really did it.
Mary came in here and helped me find this trailer. If you guys want to see it, let me run this trailer for Hillbilly Elegy. Yeah. Again, it's about J.D. Vance, Trump's pick for vice president. This is his life story. This came out long before he was picked for vice president.
Excellent, excellent movie. I saw it. Excellent. Recommend it.
We give a shout out to Netflix for that trailer, and we're using this for informational, entertainment, and educational purposes to alert the public of who our vice president pick is.
I think he wrote the book back in 2016. It became a New York Times best-selling book, and then Ron Howard picked it up, bought the rights for it. He consulted with it and made the famous movie. I think in 2020 and nominated in 2021. Unfortunately, during COVID, so you know how it is. People watch a lot of stuff. Then you go to the movie theater, but next time we watch it there. But I watched Netflix a few weeks back when I heard J.D. Vance got picked, and they made a big stink about the book and the movie. So I said, you know what? Let me take a look at it to see who this guy is, his background. If you understand where he came from, that's not even his real name, by the way. He changed his name. That's not even his real name, J.D. Vance. He changed his name and everything else. But he'll if Trump and Vance win, he'll be the first Marine ever elected to become vice president.
Pick up the support of the military, but Trump already has it because Biden's just letting him die. So
you know he brings to the table a lot. Obviously, he's social conservative, but he helps with the Rust Belt. He grew up in that area. He understands. Like he said, I will never forget where I came from. I won't forget my roots. I won't forget my people. They need the people, like I said, who have ambition. What's the message that Glenn Close says as Mamar, the actress? You have to want to be somebody. You got to want to be somebody. And this country is there to be somebody. You have to have that fire in your belly, because if not, nothing's going to happen for you. Don't expect good things to happen.
Sounds like me trying to rebuild my life after 18 years of incarceration.
Have that fire in that belly, Bill. And your audience, our audience at home, get that fire in the belly.
Who's that guy? Mm-hmm. Everybody, the rules.
Right? You're signing the rules?
Yes, I have autographed copies available. My fans were demanding them, and we've had some delays getting a few of them out, so apologies for that, everybody who's watching this. But everything's back on track. So we're doing.
And before we go, Bill, remember what we always end with: no Buc-ee's, in Stafford. The petition is still doing well. I'm getting more and more traction. More people, more media is picking up on the petition and the movement, and everybody getting involved in there. It's stalemated. They're not moving anywhere. It's not happening because they have to get the area rezoned. It's too big for the area, and then I get in the waiver. So they're just stuck. It's not going anywhere. So I think with time, they're going to realize, they talked about Lynchburg and near Virginia Tech. They kind of want to be in that area. Go over there. I mean, this is not a good fit for you guys. I mean, you see the writing. You see that we're going to fight this all the way. It's an environmental. It is a health issue. There's going to be higher crime, higher traffic. We've checked all the boxes why it doesn't fit in here, and it's right next to our property. We're going to continue to fight this. If you don't know what Buc-ee's is a mega gas station with almost a Walmart-like convenience store. Imagine that in your backyard, 24/7, 365, huge lights, awful signs, and with a god-awful beaver. No to the beaver. No to the beaver.
I guess the point is we don't want to alienate everybody. The people that love this crazy place. The thing about it is, right. The thing about it is they're building it like adjacent a very mainstream middle class area where they could build a park there. They could build something family oriented there rather than a trap where they're promising all these minimum wage jobs to the area. But it belongs maybe 10 miles away or 20 miles away, at least from where you are.
It belongs somewhere where it's more remote, right? It's like the oasis in the desert. when you're coming in, it's a good spot and you build around it, not where it's already built up and you put that monster. That's like having a ball game built every day in your backyard. 40,000 people coming into your backyard. No thanks.
It's so gigantic and such a tourist trap, like you said, for weary travelers on the road. They get some amusement for an hour for their kids. They get some gas and they go. If you build that in the middle of nowhere or maybe 10, 20 miles away from your community or other already populated areas, if you build it, they will come. So there'll be another type of community building up around it, maybe lower income homes, the people that want to work there.
Sure. Not what we have. These are very nice homes, very nice community, very peaceful, quiet community. And then they want to put and we have schools in the area too. Imagine all the extra traffic we get for the school zones. Nothing's good when you build something like that. You know, everything has its place. Great. I'm not a fan of them. I've been there a few times, St. Augustine, and also down in Daytona Beach. I think it's overpriced, overcrowded, overrated. That's just me. That's my opinion. I didn't like it, and I'll never step back into one.
All right, we're going to get ready to wrap this up so we have room for some of the trailers and underwriters so they can have their little spots actually to support the people that support us. And we are always open to collaboration and interesting guests here. We're not a two-man show here. I do my shows with other co-hosts. I have former mafia detective in New York, Louis Ballesteri. Myself and Mary, we do something called Wrongful Conviction Wednesdays, although they're not always going up on a Wednesday, just like Mafia Mondays is not always going up on a Monday. We are working on trying to be a lot more consistent so that people can rely on these shows. And
just like our show, Bill, we got to be consistent with this one too.
Yes, because our intention, I think, was to put this out every Saturday evening, have it first. So we're actually looking to try to draft a formal schedule and get more.
We didn't do the one we did last time with the other NYPD detective. What was his name?
You're talking about Chris D'Elia.
Huh?
Chris D'Elia.
D'Elia. We haven't put that one up yet, right?
Yeah, hopefully that'll go up today. I mean, I say that because I'm looking in the eye and you're holding me accountable.
It's been I'm saying it's been a week, so we're trying to get these shows because we have so much good stuff out there, folks. Take a look at them.
That's right. So the movie Silent Partners premiere is going to be in Boca Raton at the end of August, and that movie I'm in. We are developing a lot of promotional materials for that. Go to Cyril DiPaggio's Facebook page. You'll see a lot of that stuff current. He put a brand new gigantic thing about it up yesterday with my name all over it. So if you go to his page, you'll see that.
I saw that. And Chip too is going to be there, right? Chip's going to be there. I saw that.
Yeah, Crime and Entertainment. Shout out to Chip. He's become a very good friend. He actually
Hollywood Wade.
He stayed with me in my hotel.
I think I've done like 12 shows with him, Bill. I've done quite a few with him.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I think you do a lot of stuff with other people, especially the expertise on the serial killers and stuff like that.
Everything. You name the topic, I'll do it. Just like my articles. I research it, I look at it and have an opinion, and I think it's fascinating. A little bit of everything. Check me out on Medium, folks. Medium and Amazon.
Let's not forget Frank Lordy. He's my other co-host. He was out with surgery for the last few weeks. He's coming back around. He's done one show. This guy here was wrongfully convicted as a politician, sent to prison, was completely exonerated after 20 years just a few weeks ago. And he wrote this book, and links are in the description along with Ignacio's and my own. And so Frank, we welcome him back. Hopefully we'll get a show in with him today. So Frank Lordy, Framed Innocence.
Nice. Yeah, we did a show together. Excellent. We did an excellent show together.
Yep. All right, everybody. We're gonna wrap this up. Thank you for joining. Now we have Steal a Spotlight Television, which is a regional cable show. Steal a Spotlight Television, Steal a Spotlight Public Relations is getting off the ground, and we have these shows on Rumble. Check out the Rumble channel.
The numbers are pretty good in Rumble lately.
And I started writing. I wrote several articles. I think I wrote 3 or 4 that I'm going to be putting up on Medium. I just needed, because I've been locked up a long time, I need help to do everything to get started, but I'm a very quick study. So once I flesh out my profile and learn how to upload in the way you do, I love the way you have a little visibility of like a thumbnail or something. Are you selecting those images, or is like AI putting those in?
No, I put this up.
I love it. Your stuff is really well written. Check out Ignacio's Medium articles. So we're going to wrap this up, everybody. Thank you for joining. Thank you for being here again, Ignacio. I know you have a busy life, and we're very grateful. Ignacio's in demand. This guy is on History Channel. I'm on A&E Network. You know when your show is going to air?
Not yet, not yet. If they don't pick it up, Bill, we should do a reality TV show together on whatever network. And I'm fascinated about the life you live right now.
Yeah, yeah. I can't talk too much publicly about it, but there may be things in the work. As Louis Ballesteri would say, it's well, it's well, I can't talk about it. All right,
Pretty
bye.
funny. All right.